Today we are going to talk about a Jewish family that you could say secretly rules the world. This family was the most famous of all European banking dynasties, which for some 200 years exerted great influence on the economic and indirectly the political history of Europe. This is why the Rothschild family became so powerful. The house was founded by Meyer Amschel Rothschild in the 18th century. Meyer's family name derived from the red shield on the house in the ghetto in which his ancestors had once lived. Intended for the rabbinate, Meyer studied briefly, but his parents' early death forced him into an apprenticeship in a banking house. Soon after becoming court factor to William IX, Landgrave of Hesse-Kassel, Meyer set the pattern that his family was to follow so successfully, to do business with reigning houses by preference, and to father as many sons as possible who could take care of the family's many business affairs abroad. Meyer and his sons eventually became bankers, to whom the French Revolutionary and Napoleonic Wars of 1792–1815 came as a piece of great good fortune. Meyer and his eldest son, Amschel, supervised the growing business from Frankfurt, while Nathan established a branch in London in 1804, Jacob settled in Paris in 1811, and Salomon and Karl opened offices in Vienna and Naples. The Rothschilds also were bankers to the Tsars and raised the £2 million Brazil needed to pay for its liberation from Portugal. The Rothschilds virtually invented the government bond, which became critical in financing the military and imperial aspirations of assorted crowned heads of Europe. Hence, the British novelist William Thackeray said of England's Nathan Rothschild, he was not king of the Jews, but the Jew of the kings. Nathan, said to be the richest man in the world in his day, would become the first Jewish member of the House of Lords. Their banking operations provided essential financial services to governments, royalty and businesses. The Rothschilds strategically networked and established connections with influential individuals and governments across Europe. This allowed them to secure loans, facilitate international trade, and engage in various financial transactions. Their network spanned across political and national boundaries, making them effective intermediaries in a rapidly globalizing world. The late 1800s. When the sons of the five founding brothers entered the business, the Rothschilds were polished and refined, as well as naturalized and nationalized to the point of blending into leadership positions without losing any of their family attributes. It is possible that the young Rothschilds' education and the extremely worldly existence of the heads of the various houses helped to create this true mutation. On the other hand, the Rothschilds were influencing the national economy and politics of their countries as greatly as they were being influenced themselves. Alphonse James de Rothschild, the son of James Mayer Rothschild, for example, as the head of the international banking syndicate that in 1871 and 1872 placed the two great French loans known as Liberation loans after France's defeat by Prussia, could boast without immodesty that his influence had maintained the chief of the French government, Adolphe Thiers, in power. At the same time, in 1875, Lionel in London, where he had been a member of the House of Commons since 1858, was able to give on a few hours' notice the £4 million that allowed the British government to become the principal stockholder in the Suez Canal Company. Obviously, the two cousins had become important citizens in their respective countries. By the late 1800s, the Rothschild banks had financed railway systems around the world, the construction of the Suez Canal in Egypt, and also founded De Beers in 1888, which is the largest diamond mining company in the world. They built fabulous houses and amassed the largest private art collection in the world. Waddesdon Manor, one of some 4 mansions owned by the family, sat on 6,000 acres, and the Langau estate outside Vienna was nearly the size of Manhattan. They acquired leading vineyards and bred racehorses. In 1987, Edmund de Rothschild created the World Conservation Bank to gain control of land in third world countries, which represent 30% of the land surface of the earth. The bank assumes the debts of these countries in exchange for real estate that is conveyed to the bank. As the 20th century began, the family empire began morphing. The Frankfurt house closed in 1901 for lack of a male heir. Meyer had decreed primogeniture. Naples closed in 1863 after Italy's revolution decimated the bank's aristocratic customer base, but Italian Rothschilds remained financial advisors to the popes for years. The Austrian bank, which was the Habsburg Empire's biggest financier, was taken over by the Nazis. The Austrian Rothschilds fled to the US. So did members of the English and French branches, although Baron Guy de Rothschild soon went to London to join the Free French forces of General Charles de Gaulle. After World War II, the two remaining banks in London and Paris each sought to pick up the pieces. As the financial world became dominated by global behemoths, the London and Paris banks began working together to bulk up. Besides, London was running out of Rothschilds. Evelyn's cousin, Amschel Rothschild, who had reluctantly joined the bank, hanged himself in 1996. Evelyn's son David became an environmental activist, and his other son, Anthony James de Rothschild, was a record producer. In 1992, former Federal Reserve Board Chairman Paul Volcker became chairman of the European banking firm J. Rothschild, Wolfensohn and Company. By 1995, the Rothschilds controlled an estimated 80% of the world's uranium reserves, thereby giving the family a monopoly over nuclear power. By 2001, only 7 nations in the world, China, Iran, Afghanistan, North Korea, Sudan, Cuba, and Libya, did not have Rothschild-controlled central banks. Until May 5, 2004, the price of gold was fixed twice a day at NM Rothschild and AMP, sons in London by the world's main bullion houses, Deutsche Bank, HSBC, Scotia Mercator, and Société Générale. In 2006, the Edmond de Rothschild Bank, a subsidiary of Europe's Edmond de Rothschild's family bank in France, became the first foreign bank to gain access to the Chinese market. The Rothschilds' domination of the world's financial markets continues to this day, keeping it within the family. In the 19th century, marrying cousins was socially acceptable and even preferred among the aristocracy and upper classes in many European countries. It was considered a way to maintain a certain level of social and financial exclusivity. There were frequent marriages between Rothschild cousins, and marriages generally were, with very rare exceptions, with Jews. In spite of the number of their descendants and the complexity of their family tree, the Rothschilds, particularly those of Vienna and Paris during the Nazi period, preserved the kind of family unity necessary to weather great misfortunes. Marriages between cousins helped to keep wealth, business interests, and social status within the family. By marrying within the family, the Rothschilds could maintain control over their financial enterprises and assets. Family members often shared common values, religious beliefs, and business ethics. Marrying within the family was seen as a way to ensure that spouses had similar backgrounds and priorities. One of the most well-known cousin marriages in the Rothschild family was between Hannah Mayer, the daughter of Nathan Mayer Rothschild, and her first cousin, Lionel de Rothschild. This union took place in 1836. Lionel was a prominent figure in the family's banking business and later became a member of Parliament in the United Kingdom. This marriage helped solidify the family's connection and control of their financial interests. As the Rothschild family expanded and diversified its interests, cousin marriages became less frequent in later generations. Family members increasingly married outside the family to form alliances and connections with other influential families and individuals. Conspiracy about the Rothschild. Driven by their quest for money, the Rothschilds have been said to assassinate US presidents and to create virtually every war since the 1800s in order to finance both sides. Some say the Rothschilds, who are Jewish, caused the Holocaust, while others say they were the true power behind the creation of Israel. They would, and continue, to do anything for money. In fact, one of the earliest and most influential Rothschilds, Nathan, is claimed to have said, "I care not what puppet is placed upon the throne of England to rule the empire on which the sun never sets. The man who controls Britain's money supply controls the British Empire, and I control the British money supply." Marjorie Taylor Greene blamed wildfires on secret Jewish space laser. The most recent green view to be unearthed comes via Eric Hananoki. Just under 5 years ago, Greene suggested in a Facebook post that wildfires in California were not natural. Forests don't just catch fire, you know. Rather, the blazes had been started by PG&E in conjunction with the Rothschilds, using a space laser in order to clear room for a high-speed rail project. Greene's version has instead updated the theory by giving the Rothschilds possession of a secret, powerful space laser. Now you might wonder why, if an international cabal of Jewish bankers wanted to finance a rail project, they would go about it by using their space lasers to set a catastrophic blaze. Aren't there easier ways to get your rail stations approved by the state legislature? So where are the Rothschild family today? Over the years, the Rothschild family diversified their interests beyond banking. They became involved in various industries, including mining, agriculture, and wine production. Diversification allowed them to adapt to changing economic and social conditions. The Rothschild family has made efforts to preserve their history and legacy through the Rothschild Archive, which houses documents and records related to the family's history, businesses, and philanthropic activities. Some members of the family continue to be involved in private banking, wealth management, and financial advisory services. The Rothschild name remained associated with high-quality banking services. The 20th century saw significant changes in the world of finance and banking. Many Rothschild banks were either sold or merged with other financial institutions. These changes reflected broader shifts in the financial industry. By the 21st century, the Rothschild family had a lower public profile in terms of their influence in global finance. Their wealth, while still substantial, was not as concentrated in banking as in the past. To today's date, the Rothschild family is still the wealthiest family in the world, with a net worth of $20 trillion and brings in over $700 billion a year. As you can tell, the Rothschilds were a hard family to crack, and wars and conspiracy theories has never stopped them from ruling the world from anywhere they may be. Please consider subscribing and let us know in the comments which aspects of the Rothschild family you found most intriguing.